Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, a show dedicated to Critical Role over on the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. This week features two more amazing artists as usual. The current art is from MegLM, also known as @MegLM over in the Twitter sphere. And later you'll be seeing a piece from Brian Terrero, also known as @BT Sensej, Sensej, over on Twitter. If you'd like your art featured here, please let any of the show's hosts know via Twitter, and we'll do our best to get it on the show. Today we're going to be talking about the cast Q&A and some predictions, and just our thoughts in general on what Vox Machina is up to, has gotten up to, and maybe will get up to. And today, you're in for a special treat because we'll be doing it in the voices of our own characters from our games. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can catch us every Monday. My name's Akiva, found on Twitter at AKIVADAPHYDD. I will be using the voice of my character Adron from Desert Winds. And joining me today are my excellent friends and fellow critters. Let's go ahead and introduce yourselves and the characters you'll be portraying tonight.
I'm Kalea, otherwise known as Cosmic Candy on Twitter sphere, and I'm going to be playing my primary character Taliri, who you can also find over on Twitter at Taliri Seabreeze, TALIRI Seabreeze, all one word. And yeah, that's me.
My name is Jordan, over on Twitter at @TheJokerman117, and I will be doing this show as a character I play on the Critters community channel, Varel Melthanar.
Excellent. So the premise for today's show is that our characters are in a tavern and have heard some in-depth stories about Vox Machina's adventures. Keep in mind that this show is completely unscripted, so give us a little bit of suspension of disbelief. Unfortunately, Adron is not one to lead this particular conversation, so...
It's okay then, Boyle. I'll be taking over.
As you see fit.
So, Boyos, I hear that there's an adventuring party out in the world. Taldore. They, seems they're in a bit of heap of trouble, though.
Yes, it seems like there's been quite a bit of interesting things happening over there.
Yeah, if the dragon persuasion.
Yes, Vox Machina and their dragons. I'm hoping they do not come our way.
Even if they do come our way, we may, we could help, I suppose. The more the merrier, right?
Quite a few very interesting things with their corpses. Would be fun.
I don't know about you, but dealing with 4 ancient dragons is not so much good for the health.
No, not all at once.
Especially after what they did to Iman. A thriving city now flat as paper.
Not just Iman, too.
Aye, Westrune, and Iman, and then
Draconia as well.
Draconia.
Oof. That one confuses me. Why would they go after Draconia? Are they not dragons?
I think it's more people who... It seems to be people who have had a history with Thordak, is what I recall. People who have a history with him or any of the Chroma Conclave in their past, and just getting rid of anyone or anything who can get in their way.
Not only that, but Draconia has a strong army. I'm sure Thordak didn't want to face the strong army.
Yes.
Anything that's more of a threat to him is got to be dispatched. But what he doesn't realize is that I'm a threat to him. I'll be your undoing, boyo. Mark my words.
As I am sitting next to you, I'm kind of thankful that he does not understand this. But I'm not aware of any dealings that Draconia had with Dordak.
I think it's probably more about the fact that if Draconia has time to plan and time to think about what they're going to do, then they would stand a chance more so than Amon or any of the other countrysides.
I understand.
So hitting them early, destroying them before they have a chance. He's an evil bastard, but I'll give him that. He's smart. Destroying your enemy before they know what's happening.
This is true. But I heard that Vasselheim received a visit from Vox Machina. I'm hoping that the Platinum Palisade has a response planned.
It's a difficult situation for those in Vasselheim.
True, but one of the reasons my monk order has sent me out into the world was to find something to fight for. Vasselheim may be fighting, or may have itself to fight for, but if they ignore the outside world, they are losing so much.
They've faced that before, though they've done it twice. History repeats itself. Hopefully they don't allow it to repeat themselves, but if it does, they will sit there and let the world crumble and then rebuild around it.
So, I heard recently, too, that Vox Machina lost the support of the Clasp.
I'm not so sure they ever had support of the Clasp so much as tolerance.
Yes, more the alliance of convenience rather than friendliness.
I suppose that's the better way to put it. But now they've backed themselves into a bit of a corner.
Yes.
It seems. They've made themselves a powerful enemy.
Not so much. The Clasp is one of the dirtier guilds in the world. I cannot say too much on that, but needless to say, there are other individuals that would like to see the Clasp gone as well.
Yes.
So it maybe balances out.
It will depend on if the world gets rebuilt or not. If Iman gets rebuilt and the Clasp still exists, it's going to pose somewhat of a roadblock, if it were.
This is not to say that the Clasp is completely bad. I'm sure there are some members that do have the best interest in the city, but I do not. It appears to me that the Clasp is more of a thug guild. They may have the standard thieves guild operations such as smuggling and a black market, but they are interested in their own gain over the true running of the city.
Pretty much any thieves guild is that way, though.
Yeah.
With the exception of my pirate crew.
Well,
We try to do good where we can.
True. However, for lack of a better way of putting it, an honest thieves guild is about making money in ways that supports the city as well. Not in the terms of paying taxes, perhaps, but in terms of making sure that people are taken care of. The Clasp, although nothing can be tied to them directly, it is rumored, and it is thought that the Clasp also has assassins. And this is not healthy for any city. Usually from my experience, the Assassin's Guild and the Thieves Guild are two separate things.
Aye, because then you introduce political disruption.
Aye. It is curious because the implications that I have received when hearing about the clasp has been that the clasp is tied up in the politics. Not necessarily a bad thing for a thieves guild, but when that happens, it tends to muddy the waters as for the purpose of the thieves guild. But I am not the one that has to worry about such things.
Well, it seems that Iman didn't have the best record for political power. Their cabinet had one of these blue dragons on it, General Krieg. And now also they've had Vax'ildawn on the council as well, and we all know that he was a traitor, put down by Vox Machina themselves.
I mean, when you have someone at the helm who is, how do you say it, prone to possession and persuasion from dark arts, it's not going to bode well for the rest of the council.
That could have happened to anybody, though, no matter how strong you are.
He seemed to be a little more inclined towards it, though. A little easier to grab.
And as far as Vax'ildawn goes, I can only wonder with the Briarwood, how much of it was his own doing, and how much was their, shall we say, influence. They were known to be fairly dark after Vox Machina exposed them. But that is probably a discussion for less sober times. At the moment, what concerns me is some of the, shall we say, fallout from the Briarwoods themselves with that whole death orb thing.
The sphere.
It's the orb of destruction.
Yes.
I heard rumors that that Percy was looking into turning it into a weapon.
Percival can turn anything into a weapon, if I've heard right.
I'm not sure. I still believe the word on his, what did he call them? Guns?
Aye, that's what he's called them, and you know their influence is starting to spread throughout the world. Several of my crewmates have managed to get some, especially Sorsha. She's quite handy with a rifle. That
I've got one of my party members. She is quite good with these guns, as they're called.
I have yet to see them myself, but it is a scary thought what they can do.
They are very, very loud. I would say that. Don't be next to one when it's fired. Not good for the ears.
How do you think Percy would take essentially an orb of destruction and weaponize it beyond what it is already capable of doing?
I don't know. It's good in theory, but when you take into account the story that Keyleth originally tried to destroy it with, what was it, the shard of glass, and it was completely evaporated and sucked into the orb. So
not only but she was almost sucked in herself.
I'm struggling to see how you would get anything close to it, or in order to turn it into a weapon that it wouldn't suck inside of it.
I would say magic, but the rumor is no magic can be done in its influence.
Scary thought.
I cannot help but wonder Why has the take not been approached by outside parties in taking care of the dragons and all of this already? They are known for taking contracts.
Aye, but Vanessa, she seems to be interested in the loot that can be acquired from it. If it's not lucrative, she's not going to touch it.
Yeah.
Now that sounds like the thieves guilds that I am familiar with. They have a good
Bounty.
reputation.
They seem more bounty hunters, in a sense. If someone's going to pay them to get something, they'll do it. If not, it's a little less inclined to try to achieve it.
There was a rather chaotic fellow that once said, "If you're good at something, never do it for free."
I
Perhaps,
agree.
and that is perhaps the basis of most thieves guilds, in my mind at least.
We're all just trying to get ahead. Except in the case of the Slayer's take. They're out to get ahead, literally. You're right there, Adron.
The pipe smoking dwarf behind me, little heavy with the smoke.
So I prefer the outdoors. These taverns are a little too closed in for me.
Don't step on your joy, laddie. Don't step on mine.
I was merely commenting on why I coughed, not stepping on anyone's joy. Although that does lead me to another thought, or another topic, perhaps. I heard that just before the Chroma Conclave attacked Imon, Keyleth and Vox Machina were in a battle, and Keyleth cast Cloud Walk.
Yes, that's quite a story.
Are either of you casters?
I am.
The only thing I know how to cast comes from me birth. I know how to cast True Strike, but that's it.
Well,
I'm what's known as a warlock.
so you may maybe understand more or better than others how did that spell backfire, do you think?
Sometimes if you don't have full knowledge of all of the aspects of a spell, in the heat of battle, sometimes things can slip your mind. You can forget aspects. And
Duh. I meant more along the lines of why they did not take the opportunity to retreat.
if I've heard anything about Vox Machinas, that they don't retreat.
They're like me in that regard.
One time they tried, they ended up killing the thing anyway. So.
Well, that must be an interesting story.
It was in the Underdark when they got chased by that, what was it, cloaker? They tried to run from that. It chased them and they ended up making a sail outfit.
Interesting use for a cloaker.
Isn't that what Vax's coat is made out of as well?
Yes, the Cloak of Displacement, yes.
I've heard rumors that he has so many cloaks, but I've only actually heard of two.
Yes.
I've heard that he's got veritable carts of the things. He just wheels them around behind him. And there's a wheel that goes squeaky, 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 and it hurts his ability to stealth.
I mean, if there's one use for that bear, I know it's not in combat, if there's one use for it, it'd be a coat rack.
Duh. Well, that reminds me, humorous anecdote, but Percy used it for just that reason last time that he visited Victor over in Vasselheim.
Now that's an interesting fellow.
I've had some dealings with Victor myself. We've needed to get some ammunition for the cannons on my ship, the Raven's Tooth. He is an interesting fellow, and I'm lucky to say that I'm one of his repeat customers. One of 3 that he has.
I've heard that not many are capable of repeating business with this Victor. I've not met the man myself, but it must be quite a sight.
If you mean the man is pretty, no, it's not.
I meant
That's the
more,
last word I would use to describe that man.
more along the lines that he is, shall we say, eccentric?
Oh, indeed, he's very eccentric. You may even call the man a mad genius.
One person smart enough in the town to actually hoard black powder.
Although I heard that it bit him in the hand, so to speak. I saw his house last time I was in Vasselheim, and he was missing half the roof.
Did you see his hand? Quite
No.
literally took half of it.
Yes, that I heard, but I can only wonder what he was actually working on.
He might be working on thrown explosives. I've heard that Percy's used those a few times.
I know he's been able to modify some of the archer's arrows to explode on impact as well.
Ah, Vex. Aye. She's quite the crafty one as well.
I've actually heard tales of her beauty, but I've also heard tales of what happens to men when they try. If you take my meaning.
Yeah.
And honestly, from the tales, she is more of a rogue than her brother.
Yes. Vax is quite the stealthy one, but he's a little too kind of heart for me.
I've heard he's becoming a man of the cloth.
I don't know about that. I know from the tales, his belief has grown stronger. But I cannot help if that is their friend Pike's doing, or where exactly that may be coming from.
One can only brush with death so many times before they reach for something beyond life.
True, but how often has that brush with death been his own fault?
More often than not.
I've heard he actually went after the Briarwoods by himself at first.
Yes. A little foolhardy. Trying to go everything alone, save his sister and the rest of Vox Machina, but directly putting himself in center of danger.
You know, boyos, now that I hear you talking, I'm surprised I haven't had more brushes with death myself.
I will say that, as far as Vax is concerned, it sounds very much like he is a paladin in rogue's clothing.
Yes.
Aye, indeed.
I wonder if perhaps Lady Kima may give him some pointers in that area.
Now that's a lass I'd like to meet.
I actually had a very, very short conversation with her. Very spirited, that one. I doubt she even remembers it. It was simply in passing in a tavern. But hearing her opinions on certain aspects of the hierarchy of her order is quite interesting to hear.
Do you think there's a reason she bucks the authority so much?
Honestly, I suspect it is unwanted attention from High Lord Vord.
I think she's got a taste for battle. She's got a taste for the fight, and the talking is not so much, not so, as interesting to her. She's very, as you said, she's very spirited. So anything less than a shield in one hand and a maul in the other is a little boring.
Ah, this is true.
I think that's why I go rushing in against the big things. The honor in killing the damn thing is part of the thrill of the hunt.
Yes, I'll let people like you run in front. I'll be at the back murdering things from far away.
I do a little bit of both, but I do admit it is much more fun to be front and center in the action.
Except when you're trying to grab their gigantic axe from behind, eh?
You heard about that,
Aye.
It went better than my run-in with the Chain Devil did. Got a new belly button piercing from that one.
Oh, and it looks ravishing.
If by ravishing you mean it is a giant hook sticking out of my gut, then perhaps.
The only run-in I've had with things up close and center has been an unfortunate pack of umber hulks. That's why I tend to stay far away. Those things can be, pardon the pun, quite confusing.
I was just about to come up with that one myself, but I've heard that one confused Grog so much that he attacked his own members.
Yes, nearly happened to me as well. Happened to our group. A pack of them came upon us before we knew what was happening. Over half of us were confused, fighting each other. It was quite the battle.
Well, I'm glad to see things went. At least the outcome was well for you.
Fire tends to help.
So, I've heard that Vox Machina is looking for something now. The Vestiges of Divergence, I think they were called? What do you suppose those are?
Well, according to my order, they were weapons and armor that were used in the last two sparks.
Ancient relics.
Yes,
Help.
great power. There was one in particular that I would not mind having. The out of character. Give me a moment.
Titan stone knuckles.
Yes. The Titan Stone Knuckles. Those were quite prized among those who fight with my style. Although there is not much known about such relics, considering how long ago they were created.
I wouldn't mind the other that was spoke about, the Raven Queen's leather armor. That would be quite interesting to adorn.
Indeed. I can only wonder at what legends there are about such fantastical weapons and armor. I've heard that there was a lore teller. I believe his name was Matthew Mercer. I wonder if he could tell us more about such wondrous items.
He does seem quite knowledgeable.
I'd be trying to get my hands on that Raven Queen's leather armor myself, if I were so inclined.
At this point, though, one can only wonder at the exact nature of such artifacts. Are they attuned to specific gods, or are they just a power in and of themselves?
I think anything that is this powerful must have some tie to some deity. It would not just simply be armor that can be adorned, it would be something special. Something not seen.
This is true.
And there can be drawbacks with dealing with deities, but in my experience at least, they can give things that are very, very powerful. If you're willing to deal with the trade-off of perceived negatives, it can be quite advantageous to have a
Well, I
deity.
think the perceived negative here is the end of the world.
Yes, one that kinda have to deal with. Can't just exactly let that happen.
Oh, my question is, if Vox Machina is successful in their search for these relics, what will they do with them once they have dealt with the Chroma Conclave?
My guess is that the gods will take them back. Try to place them in for safekeeping.
Or will they leave it to Vox Machina to do so?
If that's the case, I get the feeling Scanlan won't exactly want to part with anything he gets his hands on.
Scanlan and Vex are both similar in that way.
Anything that has any sort of value to it tends to stay in the pocket.
Now, I've heard something recently that Grog had a sword he couldn't part with. What was that all about?
That is a very, very interesting item.
Well, if the rumors are true, it would be a weapon with a mind of its own.
Those are very rare, very powerful.
Indeed. It calls into question, though. Once he took the sword, who was in charge? After all, Grog is not, shall we say, the sharpest sword in the bunch?
No, not exactly. Unless it's shapes, colours, or ale. Not
And also the
wealth
ladies.
of knowledge. Yes, that too. Unless it's those topics, he's not exactly a wealth of knowledge, you could say.
As this part of the conversation is going on, Adron is looking around, making sure that there is not a member of Vox Machina or another Goliath in the room to beat him down for saying so.
Oh god, oh god.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, roll initiative.
Oh shit! No! I'm not ready.
But, that is not to say that Grog does not have his own ideas about how the world should work and is not good of heart, but from what I have heard from my fellow monks that that train under Earthbreaker Grun in Vasselheim, Grog was unable to put the weapon down for very long.
Mm.
I worry that it will eventually take over the Goliath's mind.
Yes. Those sorts of weapons, you start to worry who's really in control, the person or the item. And it seems with him, the longer he has it by his side, the longer he uses it to take life, more powerful the item's hold over Grog's mind becomes.
Indeed.
And also those items that have certain sentience tend to not want to share use.
Indeed. I've heard that there was a new, not necessarily new, but another cleric that was, at least for the time being, traveling with Vox Machina. I believe his name was Kashaw. He, I wonder what he would say if he knew of the weapon's intent.
I think I know what he would say, Adran. I think he would say the world's always ending, baby.
Oh, that is because it is, but the question is, what are they going to do in order to keep it from ending? Or at least postpone it?
Well, the first step is getting their hands on these vestiges of divergence and then taking out the dragons. Easy as that, really.
Easier said than done.
And of course, the question is, which dragon do they go after first?
Well, I don't think you go after Thordak first. He's a beast you need to save for last. Take out the smaller of those around. Make sure that his allies are few before centering in on the big one.
Well, at that point, the question is, do you wait to take on Thordak and perhaps have him join his, for lack of a better term, comrades? Or do you try to take out the biggest threat first, in hopes that the smaller ones will see it as an opportunity for advancement?
Aye, but not only that, it's a form of intimidation. You take out the big one and then they might scatter because now they have no unifying force.
However, they've shown to be quite good at teaming up despite the history of chromatic dragons. If you go after the big one first, the little ones may not be too far behind, and then instead of fighting one dragon, you're fighting 4 all at once.
True. I can only wonder if perhaps Vox Machina will do some side adventuring in order to perhaps hone their strengths. Become a little bit stronger before going after these the attacking dragons, even above and beyond what they may be doing in order to get these vestiges.
But do you think now's the time to be getting new skills?
I think you need to be as strong as possible when you're taking on a foe like an ancient dragon. Nevertheless, 4.
So mixing professions is not something that.
Can.
So mixing professions is not something that you would recommend then?
Not personally. I prefer to hone my skills in one single area before I move on to another.
All I've ever known is the fight.
I see the advantages of going either way. I've picked up a few, shall we say, shadier skills in my time. It can be quite powerful combining it with what you already know. But of course, there's always room for improvement on your basic skills as well.
Do you think that there's some people that are better off choosing a new profession in addition to their other one than others?
Well, it depends on what that individual's goals are. And then again, it also depends on how well you can use the base skills that you have. Take Scanlan, for example. Bards are known for singing and entertaining, and yet his skills Well, if they are to be believed, he's once turned into I believe they called it a triceratops. Nearly destroyed a building.
That's
That's
crazy.
his tales.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, I'm
Oh,
not.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's one time, there's a bard named, Rhea. I hear she turns into a T-Rex on occasion. I think that's what they were calling it.
To be honest, I am not certain what either of those creatures are, but if it is even partially as powerful as Scanlan in taking down the building, one has to wonder who really is the strongest one in the ranks of Vox Machina.
With that bard, you never really know what's true and what's a tale, though. He's quite famous for telling quite tall stories, despite his short stature.
That is true.
Doesn't Scanlan call himself their leader?
He does. He does.
Do you think there's any truth behind it? Is he really the leader, or is it in his own mind?
I think, from what I've seen, in times of when a decision needs to be made, it tends to be Vax'ildawn that takes the helm. So Scanlan may believe himself to be the leader, and he may be the face, you could say, of the group, but when times are tough, I believe it's Vax'ildawn who really speaks for the group.
This is true, but would you really want to be the leader and thus have a target on your back, or would you let somebody else take that target for you?
I think the true intelligence is letting someone else shine a little bit.
Give them their moment in the light.
Yes.
I do have to say, I feel a little sorry for Keyleth, though. After Thortak wiped out the fire Ashari, her quest for leadership among her own people seems to be a dire one.
Thankfully, she's already gone there. If she'd held that off, wouldn't have been able to complete that section.
They never said leadership was easy, though.
No.
I've had to make some choices as a captain that I haven't enjoyed.
'Tis heavy is the head that wears the crown. But it leads me to wonder how the Ashari will rebuild that portion of their society.
Depends if there are any to rebuild it. Last I heard, there were very few, if any, that survived that attack.
Nature will find a way, boyos. Nature will find a way.
I was merely thinking that perhaps some of the Ashari tribes would contribute members to rebuild the Fire Tribe.
I'm less versed in how the Ashari deal with things outside of their own tribes. I couldn't begin to theorize how that would happen.
There will come those who are well versed in the ways of manipulating the fire. And when the time is right, they will make their way to the Fire Ashari. They will become the new Fire Ashari.
I do expect that Vox Machina plans to visit the site of the Fire Ashari so that they can get an idea on if there were any survivors. It's said that Thordak broke through and killed everyone, but considering how quickly they moved upon Iman and the rest of Taldore, I cannot help but think they may have missed at least a few.
We also know that it is not uncommon for those of the Ashari to enter the elemental plane of fire, so it is possible that one or two of them were in there when Thordak broke through and thus possibly survived.
That is also a possibility. Although saying such reminds me of Vex's and Vax's parents. It is well known that their mother died in an attack from a dragon, but their father, I believe he was from Singorn. Last I heard, Singorn is in the Feywild.
Last I heard, it was a crater in the ground.
Well, that is what happens when certain elven cities decide that it is too dangerous to stay here in the material plane. They transfer the city, and all that is left is a crater. But it is curious if there are any plans by Singorn to assist in ridding the world of these dragons, or if they plan on just sitting and waiting.
If there's one common theme that I think I've heard that seems to have emerged in this world, it's that you don't survive the end of the world by helping others, unfortunately. Vax'ildawn has survived two perceived ends of the world by dealing with their own city, their own people, and Singorn seems to do the same thing. It's unfortunate, but it seems that if you want to survive, you need to think of yourself before others.
Sad but true. After all, if you do not take care of yourself, you do not have anything left to help others with.
I believe that's the argument that a few that Vox Machina have approached in Vax'ildawn have given. They would lend arms, but the second they do, the dragons and other beasts that seek to fell Vax'ildawn might see that as an opportunity, an attack.
I believe Kashaw when he said the world is always ending. There's always something in the shadows waiting to try and take its place. But if there aren't people willing to step in and deal with it, no matter how foolhardy it may be, the world is actually going to end at that day. So I, for one, if Vox Machina is listening, I know that they have spies everywhere. If they're listening, I, for one, would draw my sword and stand with them.
Indeed.
It does no good to be a light in the world if you keep that light shuttered. But perhaps we are thinking in the wrong directions. These vestiges, if Vox Machina does find them, how likely is it, do you think, that Vax'ildawn will change its mind about staying behind its own walls?
I think that
I've only heard the rumors, but I think that they're going to stand fast. It's what's worked for them in the past, and they're not going to change it now.
It's unfortunate that it seems to be true. However, I think that if some of these vestiges are found, Vox Machina have proved to be quite persuasive in the past. At least in the case of the sector of Vax'ildawn that seems to be loyal to the Raven Queen. If they find this armor, it may prove as quite a compelling argument for aid.
Da. It's the problem with sticking only to tried and true methods is that your enemies are not always going to do so. They may find a way to work around such defenses.
Adapt and survive.
Aye, you never grow.
Indeed.
You can only do the same thing for so long before someone finds a way around it.
Unless that same thing is running in and just hacking and slashing, that seems to work really well for me.
Oh, you and Grog both.
Although even Grog has fallen.
I've come real close. But I haven't fallen yet.
I think in the case of a beholder, you might want to rethink strategies.
I once a beholder sets its eyes on you, it gets pretty painful.
Pretty scary for someone like me, especially. If that big eye looks at you, my magical capabilities go to 0.
Oh, so it's like that orb that Vox Machina is looking at then.
That big eye, if it looks at you, it's very similar to that ziggurat in that you can do nothing magical. It just does not work.
I wonder, would perhaps another journey into the Underdark be called for then? Perhaps get a beholder to stare down the dragon, as it were.
I was thinking about
that. Would be
that.
a show-off I would like to see.
Hi, I'm Teleri Seabreeze. This is me pet beholder. Now look him straight in the eye so he can't do nothing.
Although in my experience, beholders don't tend to like helping others. They tend to be in it quite for themselves and only themselves.
True, but situationally, the beholder is the lesser of two evils, and Vox Machina is known to have been able to handle them in the past.
But from what I hear, it was at great cost.
Mm.
And now the Elder Brain's woken up. That's some scary shite right there.
That's not something you want to deal with. The pissed off city of Illithid.
I suppose that is one of the larger reasons why the dragons have not started from the ground up, so to speak. Isn't there a city of dwarves down there that could lend aid, perhaps?
Craghammer.
Do you happen to feel that perhaps the dwarves would lend aid if they were approached?
I think it would, with enough persuasion, possibly. Enough gold is flashed, possibly.
I hear that Lady Allura's running around with one of them. Thunder something or other?
Thunderbrand.
Yes, the Thunderbrand.
Oh, that's the one, aye.
Yes. Very powerful house, that is.
The other day I was walking along, and this was shortly after the dragon attack. There came a spark bouncing by me, I swear I heard the name Thunderbrand come from this spark. It was
It's
quite
possible.
strange.
Very powerful magic. Very
Was
powerful
there
magic.
just one or was there two?
It took me by such surprise I did not stop to count. It's not every day a spark happens to speak to you, you see.
Just gotta ask the right questions. Yes, I feel like if there's one thing Vox Machina is missing, it's the heartiness of a dwarf.
That would be an interesting sight to see.
Indeed.
Now, I hear that Thordak got some surgery. What do you suppose that is?
Well, if the tales are true, Lady Kima and Lady Allura found a crystal with Thordak's essence, keeping him in the fire plane. I would bet money that it is that crystal that he took with him.
Yes.
I cannot see anything else that it could be.
Aye, but do you suppose that destroying the crystal destroys Thordak?
That is the question for the ages. In some of my research, while I was still at my monastery, there is a process that Thordak could undertake using that gem if he decided he wanted to, go the way of the Leech. I can only wonder what sort of power that would impart to him.
That would be right nasty.
It'd be a scary thought, yes.
I don't know that Thordak would do that, though. Unless he's really nearing the end of his life anyway.
Is there a set limit for a dragon's life? I'm not sure.
Oh. I cannot say for certain, but I believe so.
It must be a very, very long time.
If I remember right, it's several thousand years.
Longer than my lifespan, to be sure.
Only a little longer than mine.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do believe it is time for me to continue my journey.
Yes, I've been only stopping here for a moment. I have more magics to find, more people to kill.
You say that, and that may mean that our paths will cross again.
It's possible. It's possible.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Aye. If
You
you ever
indeed.
need the hand of the Ravenstooth and her crew, we're standing by.
If you ever need aid from me, all you need to do is call for the Inquisition.
Well, considering my own journey, I may have need of both of you soon.
Say the word and the Inquisition will be right there next to you, helping in any way we can.
Most excellent. Thank you so much. And I think that will bring us to the end of the scene.
Good stuff.
That was a rather interesting exchange, I must say.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So for next week, there are some plans in the works. I have not heard back from some individuals that I've been trying to contact, so hopefully we will have a guest next week. But in case things don't work out, I won't say who it is. And so we'll just have to wait till next week to find out.
Indeed.
Stay tuned, everybody!
Indeed. And in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe to catch us each and every week. If you have any of your D&D questions, or any D&D or RPG questions in general, feel free to send them to us using the hashtag DMsCorner. That's DMS Corner. If you want to submit art, just contact any of us via Twitter. You can contact me at Akiva David, AKIVADAPHYDD.
Do we have a DM's Corner question this week?
No, unfortunately we don't. It seems it has been rather quiet, even following along on the official/unofficial Wizards of the Coast question line, usually through Chris Perkins, and I feel so bad right now. My brain... Jeremy Crawford. Yes. Jeremy, if you happen to be hearing this, I am so sorry. I doubt you'll listen, but I'm sorry. But yeah, questions to Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford have also been kind of low, so we do not have one this week. So please, if you have any questions, even if you think they're silly questions, they may help somebody else out. No such thing as a stupid question.
You know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I saw a friend of mine post something in one of the Skype chats that I'm in, and she said, "Oh my God, everybody can take disengage."
That's actually one. I guess we'll go ahead and open up DM's Corner.
That is that's a very, very good point.
Because she said, "I can't tell you how many attacks of opportunity I've taken because I didn't disengage. I thought that was only a rogue ability."
It's not just disengage, people forget as well. Like, a lot of people can do anything. One can do a fair amount of actions that people forget anyone can do.
So there's a handful of what I call basic actions. Of course, everybody's familiar with actions such as attack and movement, but
which are your two primary?
Yeah, those are the two primary. But you also have dodge, distract, disengage,
help,
and hide. Now, it's normally only the rogues that do such thing because they have a certain ability, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Cunning action.
Yeah, they have cunning action, which makes those actions bonus actions instead of actual actions. Anybody can take those actions, but you're giving up your primary action in order to take it. That's why it's not used so often.
Yeah. Monks can also do it, though, at the cost of our key point.
Yes.
And fighters have special abilities. Taliri is a fighter.
Yes.
She's got her combat superiority dice, and up at higher levels, depending on the combat maneuvers she takes, I highly recommend Battle Master to anybody playing a fighter because it's such a versatile thing. And
it really is, yeah.
But depending on which combat maneuvers you take, there's some other cool abilities like the Commander's Strike, where you spend your action to inspire an ally that can hear you to make an immediate attack. It counts as their reaction, but they get to take an immediate attack that they normally wouldn't have been able to take as long as that enemy is within 5 feet of them.
Yeah,
indeed. But that is a fighter specific. We're talking about
that is fighter specific. Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about the generic actions that anybody can take. And so, like I said, you've got your attack, your movement, dodge, distract, help, disengage. All of those actions anybody can take. It does sacrifice your action for the turn if you do not have something that turns it into a bonus action.
Although I can't stress how many times sacrificing an attack and taking the dodge action has actually saved my life as when I play my monk. There's been times when I have straight up just not spent. I haven't had any key points left, and rather than, be in the middle of like 3 people, you just take the dodge action as your entire action, and then all attacks has disadvantage on you, and that can save a life, man. That second roll that has to be lower can save your life.
Not only that, but it also gives you, the dodge action specifically, also gives you advantage on your dexterity saves.
Yeah.
But not only that, taking an action like distraction. Adron is a monk. If it comes down to a fight where, in my party, the tanks of the party are Adron and Ariadne. Ariadne is a paladin.
Yep.
If I believe that she can hit harder than I can on any given turn, if I take the distraction action, it will give her advantage against the target that I'm distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm out of key points and I use that as my action, I just helped her score some major damage.
Yeah.
Phrasing. If you've watched Desert Winds, you know why I'm saying that.
Sure, ruin my little double entendre. But anyway. But yes, keep in mind that, disengage, dodge, distract, assist, all of those lesser thought of actions can be equally important as an attack action.
And it sounds simple, but I really can't stress enough how much actually getting the player's handbook does help. Because there's a reason people get it, and there's a reason people use it every single session. Because there's so much information in there that you just overlook and go, oh wow, I can do that.
Right. And
as I said, there's an entire thing just on actions in combat, bonus actions, reactions, everything, and you can read all of it and go, I didn't know I could do that, now I do.
Right, I was just about to say, this specific section that we're talking about is actually in the combat section. It is in the combat chapter.
Yeah.
So, and it talks about, one of the other things that a lot of parties miss and stuff too is that positioning in combat is huge. If you have an ally within 5 feet of an enemy, you get advantage on the attack.
Mm-hmm.
That helps your rogue get sneak attack damage, and fell your foe that much quicker. And if your rogue is an assassin, like the Desert Winds rogue is, although she's only gotten to use that ability a few times, anything that gives her advantage to her attack lets her do her assassinate damage, provided that enemy hasn't acted yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One thing I will also say, as far as positioning goes, flanking. That doesn't just affect rogue's damage. That affects the attack of whoever is on the other side of that flank. So if you're flanking an enemy, like you have an enemy, and an ally, all in a straight line, with the enemy between you and your ally gets advantage on that attack. It doesn't matter what class they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
As long as you are flanking that enemy. So, just some things to keep in mind. It's all there in the player's handbook. I've been playing for over 20 years, running games for over 10, and I still keep the player's handbook with me every single game.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, if you guys have watched a game of Desert Winds, I'll ask my party, and how does that work? It's not that I haven't read it, but I'm not as intimately familiar with these classes as you guys are. Even though I've read them, you guys are the ones that are looking at those abilities every day.
Yeah.
And every time we play. And so I, as a DM, humble myself and look at it or ask to look at the ability.
Yeah.
Just in case I need to make, a rules judgment on something. But I ask my party, how does that work? Because it keeps the game flowing, one, so that I don't have to look it up. But it also, I'm able to learn that way too by hearing it.
Indeed. And
plus, I mean, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the DM has so much in their head already that there's a chance that you straight up just forget aspects of an ability or overlook stuff, and so it's 100% good for like the DM to just be like, listen, I don't know 100% all the aspects of everything all of you do all at the same time, so if we get every now and then, just throw out what your ability does, because I may not know.
Exactly what I was going to say. The DM is keeping track of the entire world. Mm-hmm. The players, they may be keeping track of party gold, but they're more focused on their character. So as a player, it is not disrespectful to say to a DM, hey, this is how the whatever skill or whatever power works. Because honestly, with so much to keep track of, it's easy to lose track of in a single spell or
Absolutely.
a single ability. So,
right, and I mean we've had situations in Desert Winds where I've gone, oh, you just cast Guiding Bolt at him. That should have given the next attack against it advantage, and we completely forgot, even though I put on the creature, I put advantage on next attack. We still completely missed it until a round or two later, and I went, crap.
Yeah. Remember, a DM's job is to keep you guys, heroes.
Having fun.
Yeah, keep you guys having fun and make you guys heroes. We just, lose track of individual abilities. We're not ignoring what you guys can do. We just may not necessarily be able to see it until after the turn has passed. So,
and please don't. That's what I was going to say. Don't feel bad or shy about saying, did you forget this, or I have this on this person, because straight up sometimes the DM just may have legitimately forgot, they may just not remember that this person should have disadvantage on this attack, like they may not remember, so just being like, hey, by the way, I did that to that person last round, does that still happen, does he still have disadvantage? And sometimes the DM will go, oh wow, I forgot, or they will offer an explanation like, no, this happened, so this cancelled that out. Like, the DM may have just straight up forgot and may not be doing something on purpose or not missing something on purpose.
The other thing too is, a lot of us are playing online. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can get lost in crosstalk. One party member is saying something at the same time another party member is saying something, and the DM simply doesn't hear it.
Yeah.
And in those instances, I try to ask for clarification to make sure that that the party is heard, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
All right, so that will bring us to the end of today's episode. So, as I said before, don't forget to like and subscribe to catch us each week. If you have any further questions, please feel free to use DM's Corner hashtag to let us see. If you have art, submit it to us via Twitter. You can hit me up at AKIVADAPHYDD, Akiva David. You guys want to put your Twitters out there again?
Yep.
For art submission?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, I'm at Cosmic Candy, COSMICCANDI.
And I am the JokerMan 117. Not very hard to spell.
Well, we hope you enjoyed, and until next week, kick back, relax,